The things that I was impressed with, I think, were the efforts of Thomas Brown, at least, to try and set the tone. You saw the Bears be aggressive early. They went for it on fourth down, and they also tried to remain kind of multiple offensively. They didn't give up on the run even into the fourth quarter, which is something that I appreciated because, again, I think that that would have given you the best chance to get back in it. The issue, though, with trying to set the tone and failing to is that it usually then has the opposite effect. Obsessed, I'm going completely off the field, or I guess on the field, but on the field as a runway because Jalen Johnson's pregame fit is what I'm obsessed with. If you saw the mink fur
Pretty nice.
coat with the matching hat, I currently live in Southern California, so I don't really get to partake in the furs, and I wish I did. So I think I'm a little jealous. And not to mention, I don't have the kind of bank account that supports having a coat like that. But I loved it. And the distressed part is, again, a little bit off the field, but just that ending shot of Caleb Williams on the bench. He got hit. He's hurting. He keels over a little bit, and it's just the most defeated look on his face, and that's what's circulating social media today. So that's a little distressing. Clearly, Caleb is tired of getting hit, and you heard that in the post game press conference too.
Yeah, it was clear, and we're going to get into that during our standard QB 1-8 segment. But something that really impressed me, and Bears fans may not like this, but let's try to think about it after we get a shiny new stadium checked off the bucket list. So my impressed was the U.S. Bank Stadium. One, the building is gorgeous, and two, they know how to put on a show there. They lean into the Vikings theme. They have fake snow that's falling down. They have, banging drums. They have a longboat that comes in to introduce people. It's a spectacle, and it's what is fun about football. They lean into it. I thought it was absolutely great. Kevin Warren helped build that building, the Bears president, so he should know very well how to recreate that type of atmosphere in Chicago if he can get land and approval and a bunch of other things checked out. But I do think that was impressive to me, and Bears fans should be impressed and hopeful that they could have a venue like that someday. Obsessed, I'm going with the video of Keenan Allen doing Keenan Allen things, where I'm sure we've all seen it, where only his toes are inbounds and everything else is catching the ball out of bounds. That's standard Keenan Allen stuff. And then distressed it's kind of a twofold thing. I'm going back to before the season started. GM Ryan Poles said that the Bears offensive line had more depth than he's had during his time here. That depth has not been on display, and I don't think that was a true statement then, and it's definitely not now, because the depth options that they have put out there have struggled. They've done a lot of different things on the offensive line. I generally hate blaming offensive lines because those guys take a brunt of the criticism and not a lot of the credit. But that offensive line, I don't think, was constructed well enough to meet the expectations that were here during the preseason. I'm distressed by that fact, and I think it was very evident here on Monday night. So, Norm, what you got?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a crossover between some of what you guys said and what I was kind of feeling. Starting with distress, it is that combination of seeing Caleb look so defeated and look like he's in physical pain as well in a lot of that. And we saw, they only gave up 2 sacks, but about 8 quarterback hits, constantly under pressure. And this is what we've seen week after week after week. We know he's the most sacked quarterback in Bears history. That has been accomplished with multiple games left, right? Still 3 games to go, and he's already beat that. I think what was distressing to me too, like you said, Scott, is this was a team and a unit, being the offensive line, was talked up to and brought up to a level where they thought that they had enough depth not only to cover injuries, but also to be at an elite level or be at a level that is going to be competitive. And that obviously is not bear any fruit, but we've also seen now that it's becoming an active, distressor towards fan bases and towards maybe the franchise of your whole franchise, the future of your whole franchise. It's distressing. I think that we'll get into it. We'll get into, the rest of, how the Bears handle this season. But at a certain point, I think if this offensive line doesn't improve, you might want to have the conversation as you get into week 17, week 18 about throwing Tyson Bagent out there. We'll get into that a little bit more. There's plenty of there to talk about. I was obsessed with the game day presentation as well. I know, Scott, you were there. I'm sure it's even crazier in person. But when you see that on TV and you see a stadium and a fan base that are as built and locked into, a game day presentation, it felt like a college atmosphere. I don't know if you felt the same way just being there, but like it really just felt like that. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. You look at Lambeau, that's one of the best experiences, maybe a little bit more purist. Detroit is obviously just rocking these days. And then Minnesota has, their shtick. They have Skull. They're going with this, like Tyreek Stevenson did to the crowd. Maybe not the best idea with Justin Jefferson out there. But I was a little obsessed with and a little jealous with, the state-of-the-art stadium and how cool it feels to be in that stadium. So maybe the Bears will get there. Maybe, they'll get to that point. But obviously from that game, you see two franchises maybe at different points of where they're at and how they've built their team.